Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Thank you for checking out another brand new episode. Today's episode 1005 with West End Junction. I had a lot of fun meeting with them, talking about some of their story, playing some live acoustic version of their Rob Zombie's Dragula. They just released a brand new single cover of Dragula, now available wherever you get your digital music at. But you can hear a live acoustic version on the today's show, and come out and see them this weekend at Blueberry Hill in the Duck Room on Friday, November 18th, with my friends in Goldberry. Tickets available now, and come on out to that show, and you're going to hear all about it on today's show. Do want to remind you, as always, Rock Paper Podcast is brought to you by Friendship Brewing Company in Wentzville, Missouri, serving up all your craft beer needs. Over 25 rotating taps, all kinds of delicious food. You got your burgers and flatbread pizzas and nachos and all kinds of tasty eats out there. And you can get some great live music. On Thursday nights, they've been doing Singo Bingo, the musical themed bingo nights. This Thursday, November 17th, is I Love the 80s. So if you're an 80s fan, come on out and have some fun with them at Friendship. And then on Friday, November 18th, James Birtles. And on Saturday, November 19th, Jeff Walshauser returns. You can find their full concert calendar, food menu, and beer menu at friendshipbrewingcompany.com. Be sure to plug in with them on Facebook and Instagram to follow along and get in the know. They have also a Friendship Brewing app you can download and check it all out. They do have some exciting news coming soon. They've recently they moved out to Hannibal, Missouri. So if you're in the Hannibal area, Friendship Brewing is coming towards you. So I'll be making some more announcements here soon, but get involved. Everything friendshipbrewingcompany.com today, and come see them in Wentzville, Missouri, and enjoy a cold beverage. If you need anything else from me, of course, you can always find me at rockpaperpodcast.com. Hit me up on the socials. Email me at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to continue to support the show, a great way to do so is hit up the merch store. I got some t-shirts, hats, tank tops, all kinds of stuff in there. And you can find that on the website or byjack, byjack.com/rockpaperpodcast. And appreciate all you out there wearing your shirts and hats, and truly means the world to me. And thank you for all the years of continued support. Whether this is your first time or your longtime fan, I appreciate you being here with me today. And thank you again. So with that out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy a brand new episode with West End Junction.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
I'm Cara.
And I'm Dan.
And we are West End Junction.
And you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
This is beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats is a Shane covers non-stop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
Double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey
Hey everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with West End Junction. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
This is very cool. I'm glad to be here. I met Cara officially the other night at the Ryan Chaney show at the Blueberry Hill Duck Room. So that was a cool night out. And anyway, I'm glad to actually sit down and get to know you all a little bit better and get to discover some more new tunes coming out of St. Louis. So I guess before we get rolling too far, though, do you want to introduce yourselves and say hi to everybody?
For sure. So I'm Dan. I play guitar for West End Junction, and
I am Cara, and I do keys and vocals and various and sundry other things like tambourines and kazoo. There's a new addition.
Yeah.
she now fancies herself a kazoo.
Yeah.
That I every time I hear it, and it's like, one of those things that's like you never forget it. But that kazoo kid video, the little boy playing kazoo.
I don't think I've seen that.
I feel like I've seen that in a past life and just
Yeah. I
know.
completely forgotten. It sounds vaguely familiar.
I mean, it's like turned into a whole life of its own, like, memes and everything else.
Sure.
And the GIFs and stuff like that. But I think it was like an actual like instructional video kind of thing. Like,
Oh my God, that's awesome.
and it's like, this is, I don't know. I don't really know all the details of the whole story behind this kid, but he's just like, he's a cute little blonde kid, and then he's like, talking about the kazoo, and he's like, kazoo.
Wait, is that fun?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
Oh yeah.
know that's what that was from.
Yeah.
I do want to warn you, you probably shouldn't encourage me with the kazoo because I think I enjoy it more than anybody else.
Now I remember the video. I have seen that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was part of some other show or I don't know. But it's one of my favorite things though. Just like that kid playing the kazoo like that, and like
That's awesome.
so anyway,
It's one of the gems of the
So I
internet.
have,
sure. Right.
I am familiar.
yeah. But I guess so. Like I said, I don't know really anything about the group. We just came into contact a little while back. I mean, I know I've been seeing the name a little bit more around town lately. You all have been gigging a little more and playing out. And I have listened to the music that you have out there online and stuff. But I kind of like to go back to the beginning. Where does West End Junction get started?
Well, I mean, I guess that depends how far back you want to go.
We can't go any further back than 2014.
Right. So we met in 2014, and we met serendipitously in a backyard playing music. And I think I was playing acoustic guitar, as I often am. And we kind of formed another band with some other friends. That band kind of thrived and didn't, and then fell apart and came back together. But Cara and I stayed together, and we kind of started playing our own music. West End Junction didn't really fully germinate though until I want to say 2019.
Yeah, it was. We left St. Louis, which was kind of the soft ending of this other band that then came back to life, and we moved to Minneapolis for 3 years. And we did a lot of songwriting in that time, not a lot of playing out. I was singing at weddings and church stuff
Right.
mostly. And then when we moved back, it was really the pandemic, if I'm being honest. Like, we were putting content out there on YouTube just for fun. But over the pandemic, we wrote so much music together that I was like, we need to do something with this. I had this desire for people to hear it because I was proud of it.
Right.
And at that point, we had still been just calling ourselves Dan and Cara.
Right.
And I believe this was shortly before the first death of the trolley and living in the West End near de Bolivar, near the trolley and the metro. We thought that would be a cute little name, and then the trolley died, and then it wasn't a junction, and now the trolley's back, and now it is kind of a junction again. So that's how the name came about.
All right.
Yeah. Combination of that, and I just kind of thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Like all poetry.
Right.
So-
Aesthetically pleasing.
So both of you are originally from St. Louis area?
Well, I am. I grew up out in the county, but Cara,
I'm from South Florida, actually, and moved out here to finish my bachelor's,
All right.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a SLU grad.
Very cool.
yep.
Yeah, I just find it. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like to start with St. Louis a lot of times, just because I say that's where we're at. But it is interesting to hear how people got here, or where we are in their journey and stuff, and as calling St. Louis home right now and stuff. So, I've been here all my life, like a little outside of town, but I consider St. Louis home. So. So West End, so you said 19 we consider like the real start of this project then?
Pretty much. I mean, some of the material probably predates that year for sure. But, I think it was probably that year that we came up with the name and kind of really started thinking of it as its own entity, right? And, that really kind of solidifies it, in my mind.
Right.
It was 2019 was when we changed our YouTube name.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
there was that, but we didn't really start playing out until post-pandemic.
I feel like that's like a metaphor for like, when you change your Facebook status.
Right, yeah,
in a
exactly.
relationship, that's when it's like really official.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
What in like did you two just notice like you had a similar taste for in it, or was like what is like as you're like defining what West End Junction was going to be like? I mean, like was it always this based in this folk?
That's a good question. I'm going to address that actually. Yeah. We when the two of us were making music together, we were doing a lot of stuff in Ableton, like a lot of stuff. And I think we fell into the folk genre pretty much just because at the time we didn't have a lot of other stuff. We had a computer and a guitar, and this was my 30th birthday present to myself, this keyboard that I'm touching that none of you can see. So it kind of was basically just working with what we had, that we started writing songs for vocals and acoustic guitar, and then added in keys, and then started adding in very recently other instruments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say too, like, I've always just been a fan of songwriting, like singer-songwriter stuff. Growing up, I loved the Beatles, I loved Bob Dylan, I loved all these like, songwriter type of artists, and this just kind of seemed like a good mesh and a way to express myself in that way. And so it's kind of evolved pretty organically. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I'm like this is like a lot of my favorite stuff is is that folk songwriters, just storytellers,
awesome.
And it's like I've always obviously a bunch of them that you already said their name, mentioned, and like, but just like all the greats, and but there's like something I really like resonate again with, like the storytelling of songwriting. And I always for like 3 years prior to the pandemic and stuff, I was doing a songwriter showcase out there in Chesterfield, and that was a lot of fun for me to like bring a lot of my friends in and do that, and like getting to share these songs like that acoustically and stuff in that way. And it's just always been a big part of my life, like for a long time. And it was really great. The other day I was listening to Howard Stern, and I'm a big fan of his show. And he I think in 19 he said in a Rolling Stone interview that Bruce Springsteen was like like bucket list guest for him that he would like. Nice. It was like that's who he would got to interview a lot of incredible people over the years, but that was one he had never had the pleasure of having him on the show yet. And so this Halloween day, Monday, he had Bruce in studio, and it was the first time Howard's actually been in his studio since COVID and everything. For 2.5 years he hasn't been in the studio. He's been doing the show from his house. And so he went to the studio because Bruce thought it would be better if they were actually in person doing it together. So so he did it for Bruce, and and it was just Bruce, the guitar and piano, and Howard, and like for 2.5 hours, and it was really really great interview. It's one of the greatest things I've ever heard, I think, like as far as interviews and just like, but he's like, that's what he's, that's exactly what he does is the stories and the songs and it was really pretty, especially like just very emotional, like just everything he was very, for not a lot of dynamics or, anything going on. It's just him, guitar and keyboards and, or piano, I mean, and he was like how much emotion he was able to like evoke from that. But what I found interesting was like, he played stuff like Thunder Road, which is like, these big rock and roll songs.
Right.
And he played it like stripped down acoustic on a guitar, and it was like really cool. And he's like, I've any of these songs that I have, I can play by myself on acoustic guitar. Like, and he's like, I think that's the sign that you have something that is a good song. If you can do it like this, then you can always do it, build it up and stuff. So, which is like, so what I think is cool about what you guys do is like, maybe it might just be, this right now, but I mean, we can always add, build from this and stuff. So adding, like you're saying, you're adding more percussion and kazoo and, these different things.
Don't forget the kazoo.
Yeah. So it's just cool to say, that's what I'm saying is like, we can start with the bare bones of a acoustic and a piano and stuff and like, and build from there and stuff. So it's cool that the options are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that because I do think it's a good litmus test for if a song is good. As I'm writing a song, like all I have is my guitar, and my voice or her voice or whatever we have, and it's like if I start playing something or singing something and it doesn't sound good with just me, it's probably not going to sound good, right. With a bunch. If you're relying on the production to make the song good, then you might not really have something. Yeah.
And sometimes it can, like with Springsteen in particular, his lyrics are so lovely and so poetic, and I like with some of his bigger songs, they fall in the background a little bit. So I'm curious to go listen to the Howard Stern interview with him because my dad was a huge Springsteen fan, and I grew up listening to him. Yeah. But it wasn't until I was a teenager and I started like writing some of my own music that I started to notice just how beautiful his lyrics are. Yeah. I'm kind of right there. I never really appreciated it when I was younger, but yeah, he's definitely one now that I've really kind of grown on me more and stuff, and because of that, like I'm learning more into what he's actually singing about and stuff. So it's if you're any bit of a fan, I would highly encourage you. Like it was a fascinating interview. Oh yeah, just two greats, going back and forth for 2.5 hours. Like it was really something special. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, speaking of that, kind of individually, like I think it'd be fun to kind of go back to even before West End Junction. You said so songwriting was something you pretty young then you started writing your own stuff, or?
I've always been doing something. I can't, and I've tried not to. I mean, at various points in my life, I've tried to put it away, and when I do that, it feels like I'm drowning. So I've always been. I mean, since I was probably 9 or 10, like writing poetry or writing mostly poetry. At that point, I was writing poetry and making little doodles to go with my poetry. Yeah. And now I'm an art teacher and a musician, so I get to do it all. I get to make doodles and write poetry still. And then, go ahead.
Did your parents get you into it or playing music or at all? Or were
I started taking piano lessons. I feel like they made me do it, but I feel like I was really cool with it when I was 6 or 7 and stuck with it for 10 years. But it was a very strict classical, like I was learning 10, 15-minute long pieces and then playing them in competitions around Florida. And by the time I was 16, I just got really burnt out on it and wasn't practicing and wasn't, I just was not about it anymore at that point. But it was nice because it did give me more of now that I wasn't practicing for competitions anymore, it did give me more of a free time, I guess, to start writing my own stuff. And I was never performing it or recording it. I was just writing it for fun.
Yeah. I imagine, like when, I don't know. I think that's with anything. Like you just, when it's fun, it's more organic, and it's like you're not like music shouldn't be, I don't really think anything should be competition and stuff. That takes it.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I've kind of heard that story from a lot of various musicians, like that they maybe kind of were forced into it as a kid to take lessons and do different things, but then and they kind of hated it at one point, but then eventually were glad that they did.
Yeah.
If they do realize like, oh yeah, this I'm glad I had those lessons early on and whatever. So
it's something you always have.
Right.
It's like learning another language. You just always have it.
Yeah. How about you, Dan? When you pick up the guitar?
Well,
and has it always been guitar?
No, actually, so I guess, the start of this saga of my musical life really began in high school. So I was never forced into music or, forced to take lessons or anything like that. I'm like the only musical person in my family. And I really kind of figured that out in middle school. I played the clarinet and then the saxophone. And, but it was one of those things where, if I was going to move on to the high school band, I had to do all this practicing and I just kind of didn't care. And so that's when I switched over to the bass guitar because I had some buddies, and we were all into rock music and jam music, jam bands and stuff. And so we wanted to start a band. And so we needed somebody to play the bass. So I just picked up the bass and I did that for a while. I took, lessons at Fazio's out in the county. And then just sort of naturally kind of started playing more and more guitar. I mean, the band never really formed, we were all kids. We didn't know what we were doing. And so I started playing guitar quite a bit, took some lessons, kind of towards the end of high school, but it was really when I was in high school, I started writing songs a lot and just on my own. Nothing prompted it. It wasn't like in a band that I was writing songs for. I just really liked it. It was a way to express myself, at a time when, it can be hard to express yourself.
Right.
And so, I probably still have like backlogs of tons and tons of terrible recordings of different little things that I've made up over the years, and I just fell in love with it. Like it was just a very natural way to express myself. And so, I'd been in a couple of bands, I none of which took off. Yeah. But when I graduated high school, I was pretty serious about music. And so, I went to Webster U for jazz for 2 years for jazz guitar. And that got to be a little bit overwhelming because, that's a pretty demanding environment. And, I realized after 2 years that I was not going to be like a professional jazz performer, like that's just a whole different can of worms from, what we do and what really drew me into music. And so I dropped that, but, I learned a lot while I was there. And so, I've just gathered a bunch of different tools for the tool belt, I guess you could say, over the years from playing and writing. And then, that kind of fed into this project. So,
yeah, man. Very cool. So you both write individually, you said, but then like as you're writing for West End Junction songs and stuff. Do you two like? Is it a Dan song, a Cara song, or do you guys collaborate a lot? Or are they? Does it? How's that process kind of come out? How do you guys decide like what these lyrics might be, or the musical arrangements and stuff?
It's a healthy mix, I would say. Cara is definitely the lyricist of the two of us, or the stronger lyricist, I would say. That's not to say that I don't write lyrics, but with my, given my background that I just explained, I tend to think not about lyrics at all. I'm very much about music, chord changes, harmonies, melodies. That's really what I like to do. And sometimes I have to put words to it to help kind of express, what I'm trying to come up with. But oftentimes, I will either come up with just the chord changes and Cara will come up with a melody and lyrics, or I will, have a melody and chords and then Cara will come up with the lyrics. But oftentimes Cara will write songs all on her own. Lyrics, chords, the whole shebang. And then sometimes it's a little bit half and half. I don't know. I'm trying to think of examples
I one more thing to add, and then I'll come up with some examples. We both have day jobs,
right.
So a lot of times songwriting is just catch it when you can.
Sure.
So if one of us has an idea, we'll bring it to the other person. But we do have times where we're like, let's sit down and write a song together. And that'll be, Dan will start, like 2000 Strong is a single that we released a little over a year ago. That was one where we were like, let's sit down and write a song right now. So he started playing guitar and I started riffing with lyrics. But our first single, Little Sister Cedar Tree, was one that I had in my brain then I brought to Dan and said, hey, this is a song.
Yeah, that was
so it's different every time.
Cara.
Yeah.
Or like, I guess Looking at the Stars was one that was pretty 50-50.
Yeah, that's gonna be on the album. And then Dreams, we released Dreams in February of this year. That was one that Dan just kind of brought to me and said, hey, I wrote this.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, that's what's kind of fun about it. There's no rules to any of it, and there's no right or wrong to, way to create music and stuff. But it's interesting to hear these different stories, how these, how things kind of work behind the scenes, because every band's a little different and how they work. But we're talking a lot about it though. Let's talk about when we did play live today, and this is one you guys, didn't write didn't write any of the lyrics, at least, but you guys took a creative approach to a Rob Zombie classic called Dragula, and this is a little live stripped down take we did here in the jam room. And but tell me about where does the idea come up with covering some Rob Zombie?
Well, let me tell you the story.
Yeah.
I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw something about how Rob Zombie is like a really nice, wholesome guy and like looks out for other artists and is just generally a really cool person. And I can't remember if I texted you or if I just decided to do it when I got home, but I was like, we should cover a Rob Zombie song. That would be fun. We had kind of done stripped down covers of like when we were streaming on Reddit for a while, I was doing Oops, I Did It Again as a piano kind of haunting thing, and I thought it would be cool to do it with Dragula, but in order to really make it work, I did it in 6/8. And in fact, now I'm remembering, I didn't text you or call you because I started playing it and you went, that is so pretty.
It was. Yeah, like she said, we had kind of messed around with like chopped and screwed weird different renditions
Yeah.
of like songs, like
Just for fun.
Yeah, we were just, very early days of West End Junction, didn't know what we were really doing yet.
Right.
And we were just messing around with different things. So we kind of had a precedent for like doing weird renditions of existing songs. And that's one that she just thought would be kind of cool. And I think this was right during the height of us streaming on Reddit, right?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you've ever watched people stream on Reddit, but you don't have to have a gimmick, but it's kind of nice to like do things that people recognize and just kind of have unique things. So it was always fun to throw in weird covers like that, So I think that kind of helped spark the idea to do a different version of an existing song.
Yeah,
and so we did a lot of interesting covers, I think, throughout
Yeah, we
that
did.
time. But this one really stuck because I think it just turned out so pretty, and the feedback from it was so good that it just kind of snowballed into this whole thing, and now we have a recording.
And
of it.
actually, we weren't gonna. It had been a dream of mine to record a full album, and we started kind of putting all of the pieces of that in place in spring of last year. And our producer, Don, suggested that we put in a cover or two to give people something to latch on to. And so I was like, well, we do Dragula, people like it, let's throw that on there. But when we got into the studio, hearing it with the full band, we had Joe Weber on drums, who absolutely killed it. Eve Rigby was on backing vocals, and then John Vianello on bass and Pete Zimmer on organ. And then we brought in Lisa Campbell-Albert to do some overdubs on there. Hearing all of them do it together, it sounded... I'm biased, but it sounded so good. I was pissed that I didn't write it. I remember like sitting at the mixing board and being like, I'm so pissed that this is the one that sounds good. They all sound good, but
well, to your credit, I mean, it's such a, like, obviously you didn't write the lyrics, but it's such a different rendition that I think you deserve some credit for having the melodic ideas. And
that's very sweet of you. Thank you.
You guys wrote built the arrangement and stuff, and at least, but like you're saying, it is, for me, you can't help but to smile hearing it, because it is very funny to me to hear, again, like you're saying, is a pretty song, but you're singing about, burning witches and, all stuff. It's like, it's a lot of dark imagery that we're saying, but you're like saying it with a smile. And, and it's like, so it's just that kind of whole, I always kind of laugh and go back to it, but there's a great line in Robin Hood Men in Tights where he goes, could you just tell me the bad news in a good way?
Oh, that's great.
And he goes, yeah. He's like, so he starts like laughing, and he's like, Robin, he kicked our asses and all that stuff. He's like,
big smile.
yeah. And he's like, that is awful news. And he's like, so anyway, that whole scene, but I just think that's funny. Tell me the bad news in a good way and stuff. So
that's great.
but anyway, this, it was turned out great. The
Dead I am, the one exterminating sun, slipping through the trees, strangling the breeze. Dead I am, the sky, watching angels cry as they slowly turn, conquering the worm, came through the ditches and burned through the witches and slamming the back of my Dragula. I dig through the to the skin. Knuckle crack the bone, 21 to win. Dead I am, the dog hound of hell, you cry. Devil on your back, I can never die. Dig through the ditches and burn through the witches and slam in the back of my Dragula. I dig through the ditches and burn through the witches and slam in the back of my Dragula.
What we did live here, again, it's just YouTube, but like saying, we do have the studio version that'll be out here any day now. And maybe by the time you're hearing this, it'll already be on your streaming services and stuff. But we have a beautiful production that you'll be hearing, and that'll be appearing on the album. And but you can add that to your favorite playlist and everything on all your streaming services and things. So yeah. But this I don't know. It was fun, and it was. I don't know that kind of what your producer was saying, something to hold on to. Like I think there's something to that. Like I mean, I love originals, and I love discovering a great new group and songwriters and all the stuff. But there is something. I think there is something to it about covers, like a well done, especially a creative interpretation of something like this. Like it shows that you can the artistry of it all. Like you're not just doing a straight copy and paste cover. You're twisting it and making it your own. And then also there's something about the I guess like the connection that we have to the original, where it's like it's familiar, you sing along, the words already. Something I think all that kind of stuff plays into it. Like people love hearing a good cover song, and if you're, obviously it's been very well documented with a lot of coffee house stuff, guitar players, they'll take some kind of like a hip hop song and play it on acoustic guitar or what, that whole thing. It's like it takes something we know and make it different, but it's something still has that familiar thing to it. And, these different things like that. So there's something to it. I don't know the science behind it all, but it is interesting how people figure out how to make it work and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it was a good idea to throw it on here, and it's fun to
Thank you.
hearing this. So yeah, this turned out real nice, and we are throwing a party to celebrate the release of Dragula, and this will be on November 18th at Blueberry Hill in the Duck Room, and right here in St. Louis in the Loop. And you can come on out. We have some tickets available, and you're bringing along our friends in Goldberry and Michael Blakey. Yes. So let's talk about this night.
Yeah, we are really, really excited. It's our first time playing with a band this big. We have, I think there's going to be 6 of us, if I'm counting it right. We got drums, bass, backing vocals, violin, keys, and guitar. So yeah, there's going to be 6 of us, which is super exciting. And I do have to say that's one thing that has just felt like grace to me about the last year of us doing this as West End Junction, is the people that we've met and connected with. This is our 3rd show with Goldberry. They're a wonderful group of women, fantastic songwriters, and also really nice people, which is almost as important to me as being a fantastic songwriter. And Michael Blakey is a St. Louis native who I met on Instagram. He lives in New York now. And he comes into town periodically. We talked about putting a show together. Also, it's kind of serendipitous to me. When you're intentional, nothing is serendipity. But he's also a really nice person, writes a lot of songs about just kind of joy and lifting yourself up. So I think it's going to be a really uplifting night. And I'm just excited about the other people that we're playing with and excited to be back in the space at the Duck Room. It's a fantastic venue. It's a historic venue. So we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met, I don't know, I haven't met Michael yet, but I did meet Goldberry probably a year ago or something, maybe a little, somewhere around there. I forget exactly when we recorded, but when their record was coming out, and had a lot of fun getting to meet them, and we did some live acoustic stuff too, and yeah, they were a lot of fun. It's so
Yeah.
it's gonna be real good night, and like I say, in a historical room, obviously a lot of history in those walls. With Chuck Berry playing there as much as he did. I got to see Chuck Berry in that room. And,
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I took my mother-in-law to see him, and
How was that?
it was cool. I mean, like at that point, he was
Older.
pretty well into his 80s and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't the show you would necessarily wanted. It's like it's not the Chuck Berry that we've seen on all the video and everything else and stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, it's a living, breathing piece of rock and roll history right there. And it's so that was a treat in itself. Just to be there, but obviously it wasn't everything you'd hoped it to be, but it was still a cool experience and stuff for sure. So, I find it a feat in itself that he was doing it at the age he was doing it, and
No
kidding. Not just like, sitting in a retirement home or whatever kind of thing, or, whatever it might be, but that he's out there actually playing and doing it. So, but it was cool. He did that, I think once a month or something for pretty much till he passed. He was playing that room quite a bit, and that was kind of the neat thing was like, I was talking to some people there, and like somebody, I don't think they were like from something like Alaska or something, and like flew in for that show and stuff to come to see Chuck play, and so.
Oh.
Excuse me. So, I mean, obviously that's huge that people wanted to, it's a bucket list thing for people and like to plan their vacation around St. Louis to come see him play there. So.
Yeah, I never did get the chance to see.
Excuse me.
I never did get the chance to see Chuck Berry at the Duck Room, and I'm sad about that. Being from St. Louis, and, living here and growing up here, it's like, I feel like I missed the boat on that, but
St. Louis really takes pride in its people. Like, I feel like we got a lot of pride in Chuck Berry. We got a lot of pride in Nelly. Like, we really when someone makes St. Louis proud, we celebrate it.
Yes.
Yeah, we love the hometown story. Like everybody wants to. Where when they might leave here to go make it, but that's the thing. Everybody's always like, hey, they were from St. Louis, though.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely proud of that and share those stories a lot. And but yeah, I think it's cool. I like that they have the Chuck Berry statue down there in the loop now and stuff. And that's just cool that we can, and of course the Walk of Fame, just getting to see all the other greats that are from St. Louis and stuff. So come down and make a day of it. You can take the Walk to Fame and then head on into. Get you some dinner at Blueberry Hill, and then come downstairs and dance the night away in the Duck Room with West End Junction, Goldberry, and Michael Blakey. And tickets you can pay at the door, but if you'd like to get advanced tickets, you can visit the pageant box office. And so we'll try to avoid the fees. They are on Ticketmaster, but try to avoid the fees of paying service charges and stuff for that. So.
We try not to serve the master of tickets.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to, though.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's always no service charge at the box office, and you can walk up there and do that. So, but yeah, that's gonna be a great night, and I'm excited. It's cool to hear, like you're saying, the big band version of what you guys do. So it's that's gonna be interesting to bring in all these extra parts in for the night. So
Yeah.
and you can come get exclusive Dragula merch at the show, only available at the show.
Yeah, we got some cute little pins made, which funny story about the pins. I have begun using my handwriting to write the title of whatever we're releasing. So our EP had Wandering Minds in my handwriting. 2000 Strong was my handwriting. Dragula is also my handwriting, but I didn't realize until it was pointed out to me that I make my D's like the Disney D.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want a Dragula pin with a big Disney D on it, come down to Blueberry Hill on November 18th.
So I think that's kind of funny because, like you said, it's this happy, joyous version of this very dark song,
Right.
and I just find the I feel like the pin or the little logo is representative of that because it looks like a very happy, bubbly handwriting, but it's got little cobwebs on it and a spider, and it's like says Dragula, obviously.
Yeah.
So I feel like it mimics the music in that way. So it works.
Yeah. Well, come on, bring grab one of those, the shirts, buttons. We got some stickers. You said you have your previous release, Dreams on vinyl too.
Yep, that'll be
correct.
there on our merch table.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. I think it's been talked about a lot, but I love that that vinyl's made the resurgence it has, and having a physical product to take home, having that tangible, be able to hold, and I think that's cool that so many of my friends are taking advantage of having, that we have the accessibility to do as much on vinyl as we are now and stuff. So that's cool.
There's something to be said for like putting a record on or having an afternoon of playing records that I think people are longing for a little bit.
Yeah, we are definitely planning on putting the whole album on vinyl. We don't know how many copies yet, but those will be made available because I think vinyl's really cool.
Sure.
I love that there's a modern movement, for vinyl.
It does seem like a lot. I don't want to speak for like all music, but it does seem, especially like in a pop sense, that a lot of music's become disposable in a sense. It's like where it's like, obviously, we mentioned some of the great songwriters and that they have that longevity that we still continue to celebrate their music years and years later. But there's so many of these like pop songs that are like, it's a hit for a couple weeks and then you forget it and it's gone. It's like, and I don't understand. It's constantly something new and changing, and I get that, but it's like, people spend a lot of time working on these songs and things for them to just be gone in 2 weeks and stuff, and but I think that's what's kind of like having vinyl and be able to have like an experience with a record and that listen to it from front to back or whatever, and like really like taking it in and not just like, hit and skip on your Spotify and stuff like that. There's something about that whole process. I don't know exactly, again, the science behind it all, but there's something there that, like actually where it takes hold and like you understand what they're, you understand the songwriting and everything else. And I don't know, but maybe that's just me, but I feel like there's something there. I'm like,
it's definitely one of the reasons we want to make a vinyl record is because when you start a vinyl record, you finish it. Nobody, you can't just skip around easily. You got to pick up a needle, move it, or, So it's like we definitely want to give people who are interested enough the opportunity to have like a full experience of the album,
right?
But like you said, with on the flip side, like the way people consume music in the internet era has definitely changed, right? A lot of I feel like young kids these days, they don't consume any less music, maybe I would say than in the past, but they don't have favorite artists because they're just cycling through songs constantly, so it's not like it's harder as an artist to grab someone's attention for a long period of time, I feel like. But that's just the ecosystem, so you kind of have to play in that ecosystem. So we release our stuff on Spotify, we release singles as regularly as we can, and it is what it is. It's just a different landscape than it used to be. I think obviously it's something we discuss a lot in this show, but just trying to
everybody's trying to figure it out right now, trying to figure out the best way to make it work for them. So
Way to crack that code.
Crack the algorithm.
And also stay cool. I don't know. Part of the vinyl thing to me is I just think it's cool, and that's a good enough reason in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I don't know. And then like the artwork, you know, having a larger scale instead of like a small JPEG file on your, you know, and stuff like that. Like I mean, it is whatever you put into it. I mean, but like there's a lot to be had with creating a package deal with the record and stuff. Yeah. You know, even the artwork or even the album itself is, you know, they have just plain black ones, but then now they have them all kinds of different colors and patterns. And, you know, I have this guy I follow. My friends have made records with him, but he's been like making like filled records with fluid and like sparkle glitter and all kinds of.
Oh, that's cool.
And like, I mean, it's so as the record's spinning, it's like, you know, all the stuff's moving around inside of it, and like, I don't know.
Is he ever worried about him cracking open?
I think he's kind of got it down pretty good now.
That's awesome.
Been doing it for quite a while, but like
that's great.
It's for me, it's pretty fascinating just to see what like. He's always pushing the boundaries, like what can he do next to make a record and stuff. So,
yeah, no, definitely. Like the record itself is a piece of artwork, I feel like, and yeah, like you said, we've talked about doing all kinds of cool stuff, like a clear record with like stuff inside of it or different colors and things like that. So,
well, I've got some that are like even different shapes and stuff. You know,
nice.
So yeah, there's I bought I don't know. Sometimes I buy them just because they're weird. Like, you know, they're fun to add to the collection. I bought a record store day exclusive one. It was it was a Fat Boys record, and it's it looks like a pizza, and it comes in a pizza box.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So I thought that was fun. Just like you know, again, it's like the presentation of it all. Like, you know, having those little things like that, like is always kind of fun. So.
Yeah. And having stuff like I do miss cracking open a CD and like looking at the pictures that you hadn't seen before of the artist, or the lyrics were cool, but I was really more into like the weird shit, like the messages to the people they were thanking or the pictures or whatever they wanted to have in the background. I think those are really deliberate artistic choices, and I do think while we've gained something in the scrollability of Instagram and the ways that you can manipulate that, there's something that we don't have as much anymore that's special about having liner notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys remember your first CD or first album you guys?
Hanson?
Hanson? Yeah.
It was Hanson. It was a cassette tape, actually. It was, I don't even remember the album. It was whatever Bop was on.
Yeah. I just saw them at the pageant.
They were just here.
A couple months back or whatever, weeks back, I don't know, whatever it's been. There was a point in time for that week after that where the last two concerts I went to were Backstreet Boys and Hanson, and I was like, I never thought as a 37-year-old male that would be like the sentence I said, but that was. There it is. I felt like I was channeling my inner 13-year-old girl and stuff.
Right.
But no, it was both of them were great shows. I took my wife to Backstreet Boys, and I was really had a good time with that. And then Hanson, those guys are incredible musicians. I mean, I know like they kind of get some flack for the bop thing, like, you know, just because it's like such a cheesy pop song, but the rest of their stuff, I mean, like they're really talented guys at what they do. And so I guess they tour a lot with the family. They have like all their kids like wearing the wings on the pageant. Aww. And so they all like kind of take a moment to I guess go and visit mid-show with their family and stuff or whatever. So like they all took breaks, and so like I think of maybe we started with Taylor or something and sat down with an acoustic guitar and played a song, and then like Zach came out and he sat at the piano and played one, and then Isaac played one by him. So they all took a moment to highlight individually, and then they played as a group and stuff.
That's lovely.
So yeah, it was like,
what was the show other than that? What was the show like? I mean, in my brain, Hanson, they're all still 12.
Yeah.
And Zach is on drums. And Zach is on drums. I don't remember who did bass and who did guitar or what the other two did, but they all have hair like this. So I'm just curious to know how they've evolved a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird when, I don't know. I mean, just like all of us, we all age, obviously, but but it is like they were such a big part of pop culture and a fixture of our youth that they were like, you think that they would just stay that, those cute young boys. But it's funny to see grown men up there playing these songs and singing bop and stuff, and like
good for them.
But they're fully aware of how weird it is that this is their life. But it was fun to see them like still saying it like it's the first time, even though they've probably sing it a million times and stuff. But they still played it because they know that's why people still come out to shows and stuff.
Aww.
So
I love that.
But I can't imagine, like for me, I think about it, like I'm like, they got to be so sick of it, but
no kidding.
They do it for the fans. They do it for the people that continue to keep coming out and buying tickets, and everybody sing along every word of it. So,
I love that. That's so like, that's really touching to me.
I mean, just look, that was my first, Hanson show. So but as part of my thing is I like to kind of go in and see what it's like, just to see the crowd, see how they, take it all in. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they tour with two other guys that one plays bass, and I think one played some like auxiliary key stuff and things like that. So there's two other guys that kind of round out the band lineup and stuff. But yeah,
nice.
How about you, Dan? Do you remember your first?
Well, it's funny. I do remember the first album that I intentionally went and bought, like as a 13-year-old, and it's kind of a perfect album for what we were talking about, like opening it up and looking at the liner notes and the artwork and stuff. It was the Gorillaz self-titled first album.
Nice.
And for those who don't know much about the Gorillaz, it's the guy who does it all. It's the same guy from Blur. That song too. Woohoo! That everybody hears at ball games and stuff. But he wrote all that music. He sings and he plays the character of the lead singer, which the whole band is like animated, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So there's all this cool artwork that comes with it because all the band members are these like cartoon characters. And in fact, I remember in high school there was even like a game you could play where you rode around. So the cover of the album is them in this like four-wheeler truck type thing. And there was a game you could play where you rode around in the truck. So there was like a whole like, imaginary world built around these characters. And so there was a ton of art to look at and
that's cool.
Just different cool things. And so it was kind of a neat one. I've on and off continued to like that group, Gorillaz.
Some of my friends just went to see them in like Chicago or something or whatever. And that's kind of the thing. I was like, I'd be interested to see that too, how they create the live show around this and stuff. I don't really know anything about their live show, but
same. I've never seen them live. I don't know how he does it live, but I'm sure they put on a good show.
Right. Mm-hmm. But you guys mentioned in the record, we are putting some of the final touches on I guess this would be your debut album, right?
Yeah, first full length. We did do an EP that we released, but this is our first full length album.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're fine.
And we're looking at least 10 songs. So truly a full length album. We're very excited about it. It's full studio production, full band on most of the songs. So yeah, it's a big effort. So we're just looking forward to the reward of having the final product, like having the CD or the vinyl in hand, and seeing the whole thing on Spotify, and just being able to just like the whole experience of like start to finish, having like I wouldn't say it's you could say it's a concept album, but either way, whether it's a concept album or not, there's always something cool about hearing all the songs, one after another, because it's like a journey,
Right.
So I'm just very excited to kind of have that final package.
And this is something we're early next year or something we're looking at?
April 9th,
April 9th, all right.
which is also Easter. I like having significant days. So Dragula's coming out on Election Day, and the album is coming out on Easter.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that helps keep the memory and everything else too, like having correlation with the different things like that. So
Yep.
me and my wife considered the 13th our dating May 13th
nice.
our dating anniversary, and then I happened to propose on December 13th. So then we were like, all right, well, 13's working. So then we picked so when we were looking at wedding dates, we were planned for September 13th. So that's for whatever reason, 13's been working for us. So we're keeping it
Lucky
going.
number
Has it fallen on a Friday the 13th yet? Your wedding anniversary?
I don't think our wedding yet. I don't think so. Not the wedding one. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Just wait.
But yeah.
It'd be an interesting thing to look up.
Yeah.
Like, when is it going to actually
Yeah,
land
be
on
a Friday the 13th.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it has. I don't know. But I probably don't even pay attention. But
Yeah.
Maybe don't go out that day.
Right. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Dates and numbers and all that stuff is interesting though, and having correlation with certain events and stuff helps out. So, yeah, so keep an eye out for brand new album coming in the spring for Easter, and well, it'd be cool. But we wanted to give you kind of a little sneak peek at something what we're working on. And you said, what was the name of this one? We got I'll see you.
I Will See You Again.
This is
Yep.
what we're looking at for the next single.
Yep, that's
January 28th.
Yeah.
right. Yes.
And what anything about this come to mind when you think about this song?
Oh, it's kind of sad, which is why. So I'll start with when I wrote it. My dad's dog died about a year and a half ago, I want to say, and it was hard for me to see how hard it was for him. And so I was kind of thinking about, and it happened, I guess it was more than a year and a half ago, or I don't know, it was right around this time of year. It was like winter was starting to creep in, and which is so shitty because like it's death, and then like it's getting darker and it's getting colder. And so the song was kind of my way of processing that. There's a lot of winter imagery and a lot of, at the end, there's some ideas about hope and about the ice kind of carving things away to make way for new life. And I wrote it, and I didn't like it at all. I brought it to a songwriters group that I'm in, and I got good feedback on it, but because it was sad, I really did not like playing it out. In fact, we never play it out. And I was about ready to scrap it from the album, but Dan convinced me not to.
Yeah.
So we recorded it, and we got Jim Manley on trumpet and Lisa and Eve on backing vocals. And it was really hearing the other, like with Dragula, hearing the other instrumentalists breathe some life into it. And Don Bailey, our producer, and Dan both said it should be a single. I still don't have it memorized because we never play it because it makes me sad.
Right.
But it is the recording is lovely. And I feel like I can say it because the reason it's lovely is what we all did together.
Geez, stop bragging.
Yeah.
I know. And we're going to have a release party for that at Evangeline's on January 28th.
All right.
That night, and maybe I'll have it memorized by then, but probably not because it still makes me sad.
Yeah.
I will convince you yet to play
We will
that
be
one
playing
out
it at
more.
Blueberry Hill, though.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like you said, you had such a pretty it was so pretty, and I knew it had so much potential. And I think what was stymieing you for a while is like it didn't really have a chorus, and it still doesn't really have a chorus.
It doesn't have a chorus.
So it felt like maybe something was missing, and I think what was missing was all those other musicians and getting into the studio, because it's like everything just fell into place and rounded out so nicely.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to be one of the better songs.
Thank you.
For sure.
I will see you again. I will see you again. The frost lies thin and fragile. I will see you again. As the wind makes waves upon the fields, I will see you again. I will see you again. I will see you again. In that place where silence craves space, let it be. Just leave it alone. I will see you again. La da 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 da. La da da da. Da 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 da. La da 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 da. Da 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 da. La da da da. La da da da. I will see you again. I will see you again. For the cold winter's edge softens life out of death. I will see you again. Ripple edges of white like a thousand knives on the dim-lit heart of a man. I will see you again. We're gonna go where the animals walk and we're gonna go where the animals walk and we're gonna go where the animals walk and I will see you again.
I got to give a shout out to, I mentioned our backing vocalist, but on drums we had Drew Weiss, who plays a lot of other projects locally. He's a very creative drummer, so that was cool to have him on that. And then organ, we had Pete Zimmer on the organ
Yep.
too, and Richard Trollis on bass, two upright bass. So it really was kind of a golden combination of people.
It really was.
Nice.
And, so we're very happy with the final product.
Yeah.
Very excited for everybody to get to hear it.
Even though it makes me sad because it reminds me of my dad's dog dying.
Yeah. That, I mean, yeah, that's tough stuff. I mean, I've been there myself, obviously. You know, I've had fairly recently. I put down my beagle that I had for 16 years. So, so that was really tough. I mean, we've been through a lot of life together, and you know, and to you know, from a baby to you know the final days and stuff. It was really tough, and to you know to make that call, and then just so yeah, it's it's part of life though. It's obviously but
Yeah.
I imagine singing, putting a song together, writing, and is therapeutic in a sense, to process that, like you're saying, but also, singing it live is like kind of like picking a scab every time. Like, oh, yep, still hurts. It's like still not good. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. So I'm sorry to hear you guys had to deal with that, but I think it is interesting to put it into a song form and also like to share that with everybody. Being vulnerable enough to talk about some of the these harder things, like whatever it might be. But yeah, I think if people having that communal thing where people like everybody, we all been there, we've all done these things, various things, and it helps with going through it with friends and family and stuff. So
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I would say, for better or for worse, a lot of our music, or I'll speak for myself, a lot of my music, but I think this is true for you too, Cara, just deals with complex feelings and difficult feelings and, just complicated life stuff that it's hard to talk about. It's hard to, process. And sometimes it's more easily channeled or distilled into music, so for better or for worse, when there's tough times or difficult emotions, sometimes it makes for good art.
Well, and I think too, it's something that everybody can relate to. Like, we've all lost somebody, and pets are very, very special. And I think that's kind of what convinced me with you guys wanting to release it as a single, was not just the people that we had on it, but that actually Don, our producer, said this is something that everybody can relate to. Even if it's not a pleasant feeling, it can be. That's what music does. It's catharsis.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, again, you can find West End Junction on your socials, your Facebook and Instagram. You have a YouTube channel, and you can get plugged in and find out more details about the next single, the album coming soon, everything else, more shows. And we do, like I said, we have the big one coming up here on November 18th. And so we'd love to see you out there and come grab a new Dragula t-shirt and all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, this has been really great to getting to hang out with you, getting to learn a little bit more about the group. And I'm excited to hear the rest of this album coming up. So maybe we can circle back around in the spring and do something again, talking about the album when we're ready to go. So
that'd be awesome. We would love that.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. This has been, thank you so much for having us. This has been truly a pleasure. And
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming up to our little music room and chilling with us.
Yeah. I'm glad it all worked out. Like I said, that's kind of the fun of this show for me, is constantly working my way across the city, meeting all kinds of people. So it's fun to get to share your stories and stuff through the show. So
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I'll see you all November 18th. And
I will see you again.
Yeah. Hey, I see what you do there. All right. Bye, everybody.
Peace.
Bye now.